Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Connor. This is our weekly movie news show. I almost said TV. I almost said TV. I dug myself back out of it. It's fine. It's fine. We're good. Okay, what do we do here? We talk about the week's movie news. And we also talk about this week's trailers and other stuff in bits and pieces. We have a horror movie section, we have a comic book movie section, and that's kind of the gist of it. At the end of the show, if we've happened to have watched any movies that weren't for review purposes, we'll maybe bring those up and talk about them. I don't know if I don't have any again. Do you have?
I've got quite a few because I've not been able to sleep the last few days.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, so Connor's got a few. Yeah, it's basically because the TV's been so hectic the last couple of months. I have had almost no time to watch just random movies for the sake of watching random movies. So hopefully that perks up a little bit. I'm hoping July is going to be a big month. I'm prepping things for July.
Yeah.
But hey, so that is the plan. That's what we're going to do. So as always, we will start off with the weekend's box office, looking at last weekend and what happened. Obviously, Solo: A Star Wars Story was coming out, and we were making guesses ourselves last week, having not looked at any estimates. Connor guessed $140 million. I guessed $130 million.
Pretty reasonably close to each other.
So, and even those felt low because we talked. We made those guesses. We talked about how we were lowballing it a little bit because we thought, oh, this is because that was still the lowest of any of the Star Wars movies since Disney have got them, right?
Yeah. And
we were talking about how, oh, that's lower than it's been. Maybe there's a bit of fatigue. So on, we talked about that a little bit. And then I saw estimates on, the Saturday saying, oh, it might be down to about 105, 110 million. And that was for the 3-day weekend still, right? Yeah. And then we got to Sunday and it was like, no, that may be 105, 110 for the 4-day weekend. Because it was Memorial Day on Monday. And I'm like, so what's the 3-day weekend then? And even then, I was not prepared on Sunday when the estimates for the actual 3-day weekend came in at 84 million. And I was like,
staggering.
It did not even scrape 100.
Like, technically you won by being close.
Yeah, no, technically I did, yeah.
It's not really much of a victory when we're this far out, is it?
Well, as someone who has bored of Star Wars, it's as a victory in many other ways.
Sure.
I mean, no, it's funny, because, like, I'll crack some jokes, I'll gloat a little bit, but when this news broke last Sunday, and, I was talking about it to people Sunday, Monday, I was making an effort not to be smug about it because I wanted to talk about it just purely on a factual basis because I actually think outside of my haha Star Wars is failing attitude, I will soak up a little bit, and I do think just an objective viewpoint this is really interesting that it did this low. Yeah. Because I don't think any of us expected it to not break 100 million. I don't think I ever expected a Star Wars movie ever to not break 100 million.
No, it's interesting. It is, no, and I say as someone who I really like the movie. I think it's a very good movie.
I didn't see it, and I'm happy about that.
And that's fine. It's good for you. I think it's weird looking at the reasoning because fatigue. Yeah, people are going, "Oh, there's too many Star Wars movies." I'm like, that can't be the only reason. Because
it's not. I want to get into that in a minute, but before we go into the reasons, I also want to add on the international opening weekend.
Yeah.
Because this gobsmacked me. This 84 million number gobsmacked me. The international number was worse. The international number was like 65 million, and that is dire. That means that the combined worldwide opening weekend was not even hitting 150.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Or it was about 150.
That China don't typically give a shit about Star Wars. They actually named it something different in China to try and pretend it wasn't a Star Wars movie, to try and trick people into seeing it.
China is my second home.
Yeah. The brand just never caught on in China, apparently.
Well, it's funny though because I'm going to look up. I want to see what the split was for Rogue One. Give me a link for that, so we'll look at Rogue One.
Yeah, because we've been talking a lot this year about how mostly internationally has been doing better than domestically for box office.
And it's worth mentioning, even though Star Wars maybe doesn't do as well in a few markets, China included, Rogue One's split is still almost exactly 50-50 with domestic, right? That is worth mentioning. So international, which you would expect to do more when the domestic, slags like that.
Yeah, it's only been a couple of exceptions this year where the domestic has been doing outperforming the international. Black Panther springs to mind.
And to be fair, and that's a case where both were doing amazing. The domestic just happened to be doing extra amazing. and it makes sense that the foreign market should do better because, you know, there's a lot more of the rest of the world. Yeah, that makes sense. So at the very least, it should be 50-50. To me, 50-50 says that it's not as big of a hit internationally because it's just scraping even with domestic. But that's still doing quite well, right? This isn't even doing that. That's not even matching that. The opening weekend worldwide for a Star Wars movie about Han Solo did less domestically than Black Panther.
Oh yeah, by far.
Tell someone that 5 years ago and see what they say to you.
No, it's interesting.
It is. And unfortunately, you know, we usually do guesses for the next week. I can't do that this week. I saw a headline earlier.
Oh.
I saw a headline, and it's a shame we can't do it. But
I mean, I can take a stab, I suppose. But
you take a stab. I want to get the exact number. I don't want to just do it from memory.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, I'll hold off for a second then.
Oh, you go on, take a guess.
I mean, so this was 84. I think it means percentage-wise, it shouldn't drop quite as hard. I'm gonna go 48, maybe being generous, admittedly. That is part of that is my vain hope that good word of mouth, because generally speaking, the people who have seen it that I am seeing quite enjoyed it.
So you're guessing 48 million,
which I think is maybe being a bit generous, but yeah, go on.
28.
Damn, that is low.
That's bad. It's bad. The worldwide total, as of the time of recording, so before this weekend numbers are added in, is 201 million. Yeah. Now, I've seen some really big defenders this week, right? Who will throw all the reasons at as to why it's not doing as well, and they'll blame a lot of things. And it's like, well, first of all, why do you feel the need to defend it? It's not a big deal. Calm down. Secondly, I've seen people. One of the things that's maybe annoyed me the most is the defenders who say, "Oh, all of a sudden doing 84 million is not good enough. Like, you know, that's a lot of money, and you know, like the expectations for box office are too much." Don't get me wrong. I do think there's a problem with Hollywood, the tentpole movies ballooning to ridiculous sizes with their budgets.
No, I think it's worth noting, like some of the Marvel movies, like Thor 2, even to take a sequel, open to less than this, and that's still considered a success.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is not just being compared to everything in a vacuum. This has been compared to similar films from the same franchise, similar films of a size from Marvel, from whoever, right? The big thing to compare this to, given that the budget's really big, I mean, the rumoured budget for this, because of all the reshoots, is at least 500 million, with the marketing included, right?
With the market included, yeah. I was going to say, that's with that.
It's huge, though. This is Justice League levels of reshoots and budget and ballooning.
You know, and having seen it, there's basically nothing of that Lord and Miller movie left. It's just not there. This is a Ron Howard movie, which
is probably why it's more coherent than Justice League, because they kept nothing almost.
I could maybe point to literally a handful of moments in the entire movie where I go, oh, that feels like a Lord and Miller thing.
But I think it's worth comparing to Justice League, because Justice League is also agreed that that is a failure in terms of, even though it made like $650 million worldwide. That should have been over $1 billion. That, you know, a good Justice League movie, the first Justice League movie, should have been doing Avengers numbers. And Justice League, you know, if you compare it, you know, if you line up the times with this and Solo, Justice League is outperforming Solo, or it did outperform Solo.
Yeah. And I don't think this never needed to hit $1 billion. I don't think every Star Wars movie has to hit that to be a success, unlike that first Justice League movie.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But, you know, this is definitely a disappointment. There is no doubt about that.
It's at the point now where it's highly unlikely that it'll even get close to Justice League's worldwide total.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to take something weird for that to happen.
It'll scrape to maybe 400, 450 tops.
Yeah.
At this point.
If we hadn't had all the reshoots, would probably be fine. Wouldn't be a huge success, but it'd be okay.
It'd be fine in terms of making the movie itself. It wouldn't be fine in terms of...
Not in terms of the franchise.
Not in terms of the franchise, not in terms of what you expect a Star Wars movie to do. I think, and we'll talk about the reasons in a second, but I think 84 million opening weekend, 65 international, 200 worldwide, you know, at this point in time. I think this includes up until Wednesday's numbers. You know, I think the weekdays take the weekdays take a little bit longer to put them in. The weekend, because they always care about the weekend numbers, so they rush out the estimates as quickly as possible with those. This is like, I am gobsmacked at how poor this is doing. I expect it to do the worst out of all the Star Wars movies so far, out of the the new era.
Yeah.
But I did not see it being this low. I am
No.
actually shocked.
I am too, and I'm a little disappointed because I think it's a good movie. I think it deserves better, but I think it's interesting. And we're going to get into the reasons in a minute. I wanted to be clear. I'm not defending it by saying but with the reasons. But there's got to be so many reasons that are factoring into this. This is too low for it to just be one key reason.
Oh yeah, it's too low. I think, and that's the big problem when I'm seeing people defend it, is they don't like when you tell them that it's fatigue or that people didn't want to go see it. Like, and that is, I mean, that's not the only reasons why it's this low, but it's definitely part of it.
It's got a factor. Like, fatigue is the one that I can write off the most because people are going, "Oh, there's too many Star Wars movies." I'm like, okay, fine. That doesn't necessarily track to me in a year where we've already had 2 Marvel movies that are doing some of the best that they've ever done. So close together, like saying there's too many too close.
I don't think Marvel and Star Wars are a fair comparison with this.
Do you not?
No, Marvel. We even talked about this last week. Marvel films are a lot more varied than Star Wars are.
They are right now, yeah.
Star Wars so far, they've not had the balls to really break away from what we think of as a Star Wars movie.
This is funny. This is ironically probably the most traditional Star Wars movie. Like, this is the most in line with the original trilogy in terms of feel and tone.
That's fair, but I mean that's maybe part of the problem at this point.
Maybe it is, yeah.
Because me, I mean, I didn't see it because I have fatigue for sure. I mean, I'm not obviously a big fan who's got fatigue, but I'm someone who seen the last 3 and just said, you know what, no, I'll let Matt and Tim review this one. I'm opting out. And I think for me, as soon as this was announced, I said, this feels like a lazy cash grab. And even if the movie ended up being good, I still have that opinion. I still think this is the lazy option in terms of what to do with your Star Wars spin-off.
It is, but I mean, again, I don't want to sound too defensive, but cash grab, I'm like, kind of everything that a big studio does is meant to be a cash grab.
Oh no, that's bullshit. And not that you're wrong. I'm not saying that's incorrect. I'm saying it's relative. Everything a studio makes is to make money. I'm saying that this is, relative to other movies, a complete lazy and uninspired cash grab. There's no imagination that goes into this idea. And there might be imagination in the script. The people who worked on the script and made the movie happen, there might be tons of imagination there. But the core idea to make this movie was, hey, people like Han Solo, let's do a Han Solo movie.
That's fair.
That's it. That's what I mean by uninspired cash grab. But I do think that's what it is. I think this is the most... I mean, I was always kind of cynical with Star Wars because I mean, it's done. Let it be over. It ended in 1983. Leave it be. Like, that's my core opinion on Star Wars. But even for me, it was when they announced Solo, I went, oh shit, this is it. Like, we're hitting this lowest common denominator. We're just trying to pump these things out. I do think fatigue's an issue. I do think that's a problem. I think, obviously not for the big fans, but I think for people like me who are seeing them out of curiosity, interest, maybe they'll make some good movies. I think for people who are kind of in that middle area,
quite possibly, I think it is a bit too close to the last one for that. Like, the December slot probably would have worked better. I don't think this will affect 9, being that's 18 months from now, give or take.
I don't think it will too much. I do think some of the negative backlash to Last Jedi might have had something to do with this as well.
It might have done, yeah. Joe, I will say I'm in a bit of a bubble with Last Jedi where I see all the internet, talk about Last Jedi a lot. I honestly don't know anymore how the casual moviegoer felt about that movie. I don't know if they liked it or not.
I can tell you, at least one friend of mine who is more of a Star Wars fan than I am, for the record, was kind of meh on it.
Yeah.
I think maybe, like, we see the really vocal minority who are really angry about Last Jedi. I think there's maybe a good portion of people who are just meh on it.
Quite possibly. This is the thing. I see a lot of strong opinions on the internet on either side. But just, your dad and kids going to the cinema on a weekend, I don't know how they felt about Last Jedi. Whereas, a lot of movies I kind of figure, you kind of get a consensus by just public perception.
Yeah,
but Star Wars is almost too big on the internet for me to get that feel as to how we feel. So, and obviously that is a far bigger factor in terms of affecting the next movie than the vocal people online. They far outnumber them.
I do. I think with Marvel now, there's been bumps in the road, and there's definitely been times where it was not as good as it is now. But Marvel are at a point now where even like Ant-Man 2 is probably going to like dwarf what this did.
Probably. Yeah.
Right, and I think part of the reason why that is because Marvel always felt like it was doing. The idea of the shared universe was new when they were doing it. Obviously, tons of other people are trying to copy them. But even now, when all these other failed attempts have happened, it still feels like they're kind of breaking new ground. And okay, now we're bringing together Infinity War. It's been building to this all this time. People are invested. You hear stories of people crying at the end of, kids upset at the end of Infinity War, but they're upset because they're invested in the story, and they're going to come back for 4. They want to see Thanos go down, right?
Yeah.
Anyone I think if kids felt meh at the end of Last Jedi, based on what happens to a couple of characters, I don't know if that leads them to go, oh, I need to come back next time to see how like victory is almost is won in the end.
I think it still leaves them to come back for 9 because they still, especially kids, in fact, right? They want the next part. The kids are a lot more forgiving, right?
Yeah,
as a rule, and. That's fine. If that's your key audience, which maybe it could be that. Maybe that is going to be more of the key audience.
Maybe it is. But I think what we're seeing here, I think the fact that it's kind of dipping here this quickly with this one movie right after Jedi, I think it is showing there maybe, at least unless they start really doing different things with it.
This is what we were saying last week, right?
Yeah.
I think this could, in a way, be good for the franchise as a whole, because it means that they'll look at this and go, right, we can't just do the quote-unquote safe option. We have to be different.
Yeah.
We have to be offering something.
I think what I said last week is they need the hunger. They need the hunger to actually prove themselves. And I feel like so far it's just, no, let's just do the thing that's easy.
Yeah. Here I'll say what in my opinion are the positives coming out of this. That one that I just said there, that this might give them a push to try something different. 2, this is probably going to guarantee them they'll stick at 1 a year, which I really like. I don't want more than 1 a year. 3, I think they're going to stick in that December slot from now on, where they can, have a bit more room to maneuver. They're kind of on their own there. People don't really want to. Even after this, people are not going to want to challenge Star Wars in December. I don't think.
Not yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Ask me in 3 years. I might say something different. That's fair. But right now, I think people are going, okay, it's one movie, right? The expectations are still huge going into the next one.
Yeah. I've seen people complain that there's not been enough marketing. I don't know where they're getting that from. I feel like.
In my experience, I didn't see that much marketing. But I didn't see it. On the side of buses. It wasn't everywhere in my face like other blockbusters have been this year.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen just as much for it as I have anything else. And I'm sick of the sight of those stupid Denny's cups with a Millennium Falcon head.
Yeah, fair enough. Joe, I want to give a lot of praise to the trailer. In that 90% of what is in that trailer is from the first act. And it actually. Even though the movie in many ways is very predictable in what it's doing, because it plays into the story, right? It plays into the tropes of, okay, it's doing a heist movie, it's doing an adventure movie. It plays into those tropes for better. It actually left me surprised based on things in the trailer, where there's all this stuff in the trailer, and that it's pretty much dealt with in Act 1. I'm like, oh, okay, so what's the rest of the movie now? Where am I going now? And that was a pleasant feeling, because I do feel like a lot of blockbusters overshare in their trailers these days.
That's kind of consistent with the last few movies, though. I feel like Last Jedi was almost also kind of hands off with the plot and the trailers.
That's true. I got a bit more out of Last Jedi, I thought, though. Like there are a lot more of the big moments that were sprinkled throughout that just weren't in the Solo trailer.
Okay.
But maybe, as much as I enjoyed that, maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe they haven't hooked people enough with some of the more interesting things later in the movie.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this is one where
you will never know.
People might have made their minds up before they even saw a trailer, and then even when they saw the trailer and they see this guy doing his Harrison Ford, like it's like, okay, I'm out now at this point. Because some people just were, no, I don't want to see a Han Solo that's not Harrison Ford, and I was kind of in that camp. I don't see the point in doing one without Harrison Ford. I'm
okay with it. I think he was pretty damn good, frankly, in the role. So got no problems with it.
I think for me, this movie just kind of represents like a sort of wider problem with Hollywood, where I'm just sick of the easy franchise movie, and there's a lack of creativity, I guess. Because even though I'm defending the Marvel movies a lot, and I'm kind of praising them for doing a lot of things, even I'm sometimes like, I kind of wish there was some blockbusters this year that weren't just the next superhero or a sequel movie.
Yeah, no, it's true, and the ones that we are getting are not necessarily performing as well as you'd like, right? You know, like Pacific Rim 2.
Yeah. But people like what is safe, I guess. But I don't know. It's been fascinating to see the result of this.
I do genuinely think it's interesting. I think I know some people are going, oh, you know, Disney are going to be changing their plans now. I don't think they are really. I think they'll go right. Okay, it was one movie. I think that a lot of this was written off once they were, you know, with all the bad press. They're just trying to salvage what they can.
I don't actually think they'll change anything that's been announced. I think a lot of the things we've just been hearing rumours about, though, I feel like some of that might change a bit.
I'm not sure.
I think you'd be a fool to not think that last weekend there wasn't some meetings. Like, you know, Kathleen Kennedy and co didn't sit down and talk about, okay, what went wrong here. You know, they analysed, okay, why did this not work?
Oh, of course they did. That's, you know, 101. But I don't think they're... You know, there are some people saying, "Oh, Disney are panicking and they're throwing all their plans out the window."
Oh no, I doubt that.
That's the case.
I doubt that. But I do think I think internally the way they think about things, there'll be differences. I don't think.
Like I said, I think this might push them to take more risks.
Yeah, this. Yeah, it wouldn't.
It might be a really interesting outcome. We might actually get some more lower budget Star Wars, you know, relatively speaking.
That's a good idea. Lower budget is good. I do generally think though that this could put a damper on the possibility of, say, Boba Fett and like an Obi-Wan movie.
It depends what they're doing with them, because I think the Boba Fett one they might get away with a bit more because they could really do, because I don't think most people. You know, Han Solo is such a, you know, iconic character, whereas Boba Fett, we know about him, sure, but you know the general audience, how much do they care about Boba Fett, right? If for better or for worse.
Yeah, no, I think thinking about Obi-Wan though, if a solo movie is not going to do that well, I think you're crazy to think that an Obi-Wan movie. I mean, sure, hardcore fans who love Obi-Wan Kenobi, sure, they'll be all into it. I don't know if on a wide scale where you want Star Wars to be hitting $1 billion. Or close to. I don't think Obi-Wan does that. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, as a lower budget movie, which they could do it quite easily as a lower budget movie, that as a concept, you know, okay, he's on his own on a desert planet. That immediately is okay. Just play it low key, right? Make it small, so that you know you can have the budget cut down there immediately, and then again, I think it's a little bit different to Han Solo, where with Han, we'd seen him from one point in his life forwards. There were certain people who just never wanted to go before that, right? They don't want anything before that. Whereas with Obi-Wan, as better or for worse, we have done that. We have seen the younger one, so there is a middle ground.
To be fair, my stance is I don't want to see anything of Star Wars before that point. But
no, that's fair. But I think people might be a bit more accepting of Obi-Wan than Han Solo, because we've already, you know, people are over that. We've done a young Obi-Wan. We can do a middle Obi-Wan now. You know, they're not quite as against it.
See, I think the arguments you're making here are from the perspective of people who really care about Star Wars. I'm thinking from your average Joes who don't actually care that much. They go see Star Wars because it's the big new movie out, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the people who just look at a movie called Obi-Wan and just don't care. It's not that they're mad. It's not that because I don't want to see a movie with a Han Solo that's not Harrison Ford. But I think there's maybe a lot of people who just look at Solo and go, you know what? No, it's not one of the main movies. I don't need to see it. It's fine.
Oh, that's fair.
I can pass it.
Kenobi might benefit from having Ewan McGregor back. Because as much as, you know, people don't like the prequels, he is generally accepted as one of the better parts. And, you know, people might be like, oh yeah, sure, more of that. More so than someone else doing Han.
Yeah, no, there may be. I think it's really hard to judge how many people who are seeing Star Wars are people who actually know the details of all this stuff and care, and how many of them are just families with kids, or just people who don't care that much. It's just a big movie out that weekend.
No, it's true, and
because I think we fall into the trap of being in this bubble of we're surrounded by people who all care about movies and TV, and we talk about it all the time, and we're really passionate about it, so we know all the.
It's a very different perspective, isn't it? That's I was just saying. It's hard to judge, especially with Star Wars. It's really hard to judge because it is gets so much traffic on the internet, and you know, on that you know, all the oh, it's just that's the big movie out this week. I do wonder if the may slot her at being surrounded by big movies compared to December, where okay, that's the only big movie out this month. We'll go see that.
See, I would counter that debate with it wouldn't have mattered. If Force Awakens came out a week after Avengers Infinity War, and this was the first Star Wars movie in 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it was been, then it wouldn't have mattered.
No, I agree with that. Last Jedi, on the other hand, or Rogue One, where you put that after Infinity War, I think they suffer because they're not the first, they're not the big new one, right?
They don't suffer this much.
I don't think they suffer this much, but I think it's another contributing factor. There's so many things at play here to knock it down this much. There's the people who are on the internet say, "Oh, it's because of this one thing." They're wrong.
It's not.
There is no one reason for this.
There's at least 8 reasons why it's underperforming.
There is, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've not seen the movie. I don't want to see the movie. But on the perspective, as I think the idea of this movie is a lazy cash grab, I am happy it's failing.
No,
because maybe it'll inspire them to not just do lazy cash grabs.
No, I get that because it's to say I want them to go and do something different. I'm excited for that, and as I said, that's one of the benefits of this doing badly. I think it's a shame that it happens to be a good movie that suffers because of it.
Your opinion. I mean,
no, yeah, that is my opinion.
The point I make is I've seen just as many people say it's meh. So I mean,
well, fair enough.
Whether or not you think this is the one that didn't deserve it is that's completely subjective.
It is, yeah.
But no, and just keep in mind, folks, when I say lazy, I mean the idea is lazy. Movies are hard to make. Thousands of people worked on this. I'm sure they did a good job. That's not what I'm getting at.
No one's going, oh, you writer, you're phoning it in.
Yes, I mean maybe it was. I don't know. I've not seen the movie, but
just based on just the way they talk in interviews, it felt like there was passion in the way they're talking about. Even Ron Howard, who was brought in late to just kind of come in, talks about it with a fair bit of passion, and he's pretty happy because for him this is the best opening weekend he's ever had, so he's quite happy.
Yeah, but hey, let's stop talking about Star Wars.
That's fine.
I'm sick of it. All right, let's move on. So yeah, the rest of the top 10, that's something we should talk about. So
that happened.
Solo opened at 84 million.
Oh, for God's sake, we're still at the start of the show.
Number 2 was Deadpool 2 with 43 million. We actually did guess for that. That was a little bit lower than what we guessed. We guessed, I'd guessed 50, you guessed 65. So I won that.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Okay, I'm okay with that. So Deadpool 2 is now at 522 million worldwide. Solo can dream of getting to that number if it wants, but probably not going to happen. Avengers Infinity War was number 3 with 17.2 million in its 5th weekend. Not too shabby. That is now at 1,919 million. So that is probably going to just inch over 2 billion.
Just about, yeah.
Just about.
Yeah.
So
don't worry, Solo was never going to do that.
And of course, that's past the other Avengers movies now. Like that's long past it. In fact, if I go to the MCU, because I think that's worth having a look at, and go into the worldwide number here, Infinity War is now the highest grossing Marvel movie of all time by quite a margin.
Hardly surprising, but
first Avengers is number 2, second Avengers Age of Ultron is number 3, and then Black Panther's there with 1.3 billion, and then Iron Man 3 1.2 billion. Civil War's got 1.1 billion. That's 6 of them now over a billion. And then Spider-Man's number 7. That shows you how big a brand Marvel is now, and how the Avengers has eclipsed Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man was the Marvel A-list character for decades.
Once upon a time, that was the go-to.
Spider-Man and X-Men, but of course, X-Men's a whole different.
I'd say Spider-Man, X-Men, and the Hulk.
Yes, and now it's Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man.
That's it, because Iron Man was a B-lister.
Yep.
And now he is the headline act.
Yep. So
times have changed.
Times have changed indeed. So number 4 is Book Club with 10 million. Number 5 is Life of the Party with 5.3 million. Number 6 is Breaking In with 4.2 million. Number 7 is Show Dogs with 3.2 million. Number 8 is Overboard with 3.1 million. Number 9 is A Quiet Place with 2.4 million. That's still tying in there for a while. That's his 8th weekend for record. And then number 10 is RBG with 1.2 million. So that is your top 10 for last weekend. So without further ado, let's actually get on to the news, because
we've got a show to still talk about.
Yeah, we still have everything else to talk about. But I blame Connor for that.
You had just as much to do with it.
All right then, since we dragged out box office, or Connor dragged out box office for nearly 30 minutes, we're going to talk about comic book movie news. First up, Jamie Foxx has been cast as Spawn in the Blumhouse-produced film that marks the directorial debut of Todd McFarlane. There's a lot to unpack in that sense.
Yeah, all of this I think we've spoke about before, or maybe not the casting. It was definitely rumored before.
Yeah, but there was some mumblings about it, but it's happened now. Jamie Foxx is going to be Spawn. Todd McFarlane has never directed a movie before, so we'll see how that goes. But he created the character, so we'll see.
That was the reason that this was originally supposed to not be a Blumhouse movie. This was supposed to be somewhere else, and he took it away because they wouldn't let him direct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the man has a bit of an ego. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. If anything, this could be a glorious train wreck, and I am going to.
I'm interested, right? Yeah. Not because I think it's going to be a good. I don't care about Spawn. I don't think it's going to be a great movie, but I just want to see the final product of whatever it turns out to be.
Spawn. I mean, I like the idea of the character.
Sure, yeah.
But Jamie Foxx is going to play a character who started out in the comics as Al Simmons, a member of a CIA Black Ops team who was betrayed twice. After being set up by his cohorts and to be murdered with his corpse set aflame, Simmons is double-crossed then in hell as well. He is convinced to become a Hellspawn warrior in exchange for being able to reunite with his wife. But Spawn finds himself stuck in a demonic creature's shell. And his wife has moved on and married his best friend. Oh dear. And so this is one pissed off anti-hero who attends to dispatch the scum of the city in a good and evil battle that erupts and encompasses Earth, heaven, and hell.
Yeah.
So I've actually read a little bit of Spawn. I read the first 25 issues of the original book.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's okay.
I've had no contact with it, but
super 90s, but there's some fun ideas in there. So it's a bit clunky as McFarlane is known to be, but his artwork's
it's got some nice art, yeah. And you did get Capullo on it as well later
on, you did, yeah. So I don't know, could be a train wreck though. I feel like Todd McFarlane directing this is going to lead to an absolute disaster, but we'll see.
This is one that I want the documentary on in a decade.
Yes. Next up, Sony has pulled the Spider-Man spin-off Silver and Black off of its release schedule. It's looking for a new date, the studio said. It was meant to come out in February 2019. Colour me shocked.
Yeah,
I'm so shocked.
I forgot this was even happening.
Add it to the pile with Aunt May and the Sinister Six that they've already tried to happen.
Yeah.
First of all, what makes me think about this, remember, keep in mind, Silver and Black is the Silver Sable and Black Cat movie, the sort of team-up movie with the two anti-heroes. I think what this says to me is that they're not feeling too confident about Venom.
No, not at all. I think, because it'll been having its test screenings the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is not looking good. This is gonna bomb.
Lukewarm reactions from the trailer, on the internet. Everyone's kind of like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Including us, we said, it's whatever.
That's been generous.
That was a direct quote.
That first trailer was just bad.
The first trailer was just bad, didn't show us that, and the second trailer that actually gave us the plot was like, okay, it's a thing, it exists, it looks like it functions as a movie, but I'm not excited about it in any possible way.
Yeah.
But hey, so Silver and Black is now off the schedule. It's not cancelled, but yeah, I'm expecting it to be cancelled. I'm expecting this to just go away after a while.
That Aunt May one's still meant to be happening, or are they giving up on that?
Oh, no, they give up on that a while ago, I think.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if they've actually officially cancelled it, they just stopped talking about it, and it's just been a long time now.
Just went away.
Next up, The Crow, which they've been trying to reboot for over a decade at this point. It's been a long time. But, Jason Momoa was on board, Corin Hardy was going to direct. They both officially withdrew from the project this week. So
back to the drawing board.
It's dead again. Sony was close to exiting the film as well as its worldwide distributor. So even Sony was backing out. So your director...
can't be dealing with this anymore.
Your director, your star, and your distributor all pulling out.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
Yep. This was apparently due with financial differences and creative differences. With Samuel Hadida, whose Davis Films holds the rights to it and is financing it. So that's the harsh truth. It was meant to go to pre-production and start filming in Budapest in 5 weeks. We're that close.
Pretty late notice then, yeah.
So there you go. The Crow's not happening anymore. But hey, we had one pretty decent Crow movie. We don't need it anymore, right?
I mean, sure.
You know, I never saw the sequels, but they might be terrible. Next up, still in the comic. This was one where I wasn't familiar with it, but then I got to, it's based on a comic book. Okay, this is the comic section. So Bold Films is set Dave Bautista to star, and it's going to this film Dogtown is going to be written by Kyle Ward, who is one of the writers on John Wick 2. The film is based on a long-running comic book series called Body Bags. The comic was created by Jason Pearson, who's written Deadpool and X-Men in the past, and it is a stylized, irreverent action comedy. So here's what it is. Batista's going to play Mac Delgado. Delgado, sorry. I saw two G's there for some reason. Mac Delgado, a professional bounty hunter, tough enough to be called a body bagger. Things take a turn for him when his teenage daughter, who he never knew he had, turns up on his doorstep, hoping to reconnect with the father she lost long ago.
Sounds a bit generic, but I mean, if it's funny...
Yeah,
it's got style. I can see it working.
Yeah, it says it's a irreverent action comedy, and Batista's got the comic chops.
He does. So kind of sounds like they want to do their Deadpool, right?
Yeah, maybe. Expect more mistakes than my reading, by the way. I'm really hungry, and when I'm hungry, it starts to get really bad.
Yeah.
So brace yourselves. Brace yourselves for more mistakes, guys. It's happening. That's the comic book news. So we'll move on to the regular general news. So first up, Paramount Players has acquired the film rights to Creepy Crawlers. Do you remember this toy? Creepy Crawlers.
No, don't think so.
I vaguely remember it. I never had this, but it was like you made like the crawlers out of like the goo or the putty with like casts. Right. You had like shapes that would make them. Jack Specific owns it now. The plot is kind of like not really a thing yet. They don't have a plot for it yet, but it'll be based on the classic toy molds of all sorts of creepy and slimy bugs. Like in the article was a picture of the box, and it seemed familiar. Like I think I saw ads for it.
Fair enough. I'm not
a kid.
Remembering, but if I saw it, maybe it'd be different.
It was originally developed by Mattel in the early 60s. The toy was revitalized by Toy Max in the 90s, which is probably the version I saw, allowing the children to create their own molds again, like the creepy people and the Eeks. Jax has taken over the product for the past decade, and while reusing some of the old favourites, they have progressed into creating molds of classic cartoon characters like SpongeBob SquarePants and Pokemon. I feel old. They're calling them classic characters. That's no. That was during my childhood. That's not classic yet. Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, depends.
Hell, SpongeBob wasn't even my childhood. SpongeBob was like when I was going out of childhood. Like SpongeBob was the next generation.
Yeah, SpongeBob's past me as well.
So, they ain't classic. Shut up, Jax and Mattel and
I think.
These assholes.
I mean, I think they get away with it a little more by they're classic enough to have had a legacy already, right? We've had multiple shows, multiple things based on them.
Just say licensed characters. That's all you had to say.
I agree.
I actually am oddly optimistic for this, because what I'm seeing from this, what I see the potential in here, is a Gremlins-toned, Gremlins-styled kind of movie where the creations of the molds come to life, right?
If they don't become giant, then what's the point?
Like, I'm seeing, like, the kids create the things with their molds, they come to life, and it becomes like a Gremlins, Toy Soldiers-esque kind of fun,
I get it, yeah.
Family friendly, but kind of verging on dark, like comedy horror kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I can see it.
It may not be that, but that's what I'm getting. That's what. If you tell me you're making a movie based on these things, based on the creepy crawlers, even the name creepy crawlers.
Yeah, well, so they're talking about the based on the designs. So I'm thinking you take that and you make a monster movies out of the designs of the creepy crawlies. Depending on how unique the designs are, I suppose.
But they'll still form like a lab somewhere with like out of a mold.
Yeah.
You still have to have the creation aspect to it in some way.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe, I don't know. I can see it being more gremlins or critters, but it's like the small monsters who are causing chaos.
I can as well, but I think it'd be more fun as a monster movie. Big monsters.
See what they do. But hey, oddly, I'm more optimistic for that than you think I would be, given that I never played with that toy, and given that it's like a movie based on a toy.
Yeah, the toys are nice. I must have seen it at some point. But, it's prime time.
Yeah. But hey, next up, Universal Pictures has optioned a science fiction novel by Catherine M. Valente. It's called Space Opera. Mark Platt with Adam Siegel along with Colin Trevorrow are producing. You're going to love the sound of this.
Okay. I mean, the title's pretty generic. I feel like you probably should have gone with something that's more searchable.
You'll like the title once I tell you what it is.
Okay.
The project, which is in early stages, is planned to be a music-themed film. In Valenti's novel, which has tons of Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and a fierce musical contest has arisen. Wait, that was a weird sentence. Which has, sorry, tones, I said tons, that's why it sounded weird. Which has tones of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is a fierce musical contest has arisen in the wake of a great galactic war known as the Metagalactic Grand Prix. Part gladiatorial contest, part beauty pageant, part concert extravaganza, and part continuation of the wars of the past, species far and wide compete in feast of song and dance. Those who place well are revered, and those who fail face sudden extermination from their entire species. However, Earth has just stumbled upon this new galaxy, and in an effort of diplomacy, decides to compete and sends Decibel Jones and the Absolute Zeros to rep the planet as they roll the dice on their fate.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting intergalactic Eurovision, essentially.
Yes, but you'll be killed if you lose.
Yeah, which I feel like should probably happen with Eurovision anyway, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But
you
I'm
love
so
this,
down
right?
for this. Yeah,
and now the title space opera.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, still think it doesn't help for searchability, but at least there's a nice double meaning to it.
Even I think this sounds good.
That's saying something.
As long as it doesn't... I mean, I'm okay with singing competition movies and doing that in the context. I think...
be a musical breaking out into
Yes.
song for no reason.
Yes. There's enough tongue-in-cheek comedy here from the sounds of this that I'm kind of into the idea. So even
I think I'd hate to read this.
Sorry?
I'd hate to read this as a book.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, I know it is a book, but and I like reading a lot of things. But I feel like this is something. No, I need to be given the music. I mean, I can trace them in my head, sure, whatever. But I need to hear the music of what you're selling me on.
Yeah, no, so it sounds like fun. So space opera, it's a thing. Next up, Angelina Jolie and David Oyelowo, if I'm saying his name correctly.
I don't think you are, but
Oyelowo. I always stumble on his name, but
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
I know you're on about.
They're in talks to star in Come Away, a fantasy drama that will mark the live-action directorial debut of Brenda Chapman, the Oscar-winning director and co-writer of Brave, the Pixar film. So this is her first live-action film. So Come Away is imagined as a prequel to both Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. Before Alice went to Wonderland and before Peter became the Pan... I did that there, I just thought that was funny. Peter became the Pan. They were brother and sister. I know. When their eldest brother dies in a tragic accident, they each seek to save their parents from their downward spirals of despair until they finally are forced into choose between home and imagination. This sets the stage for their iconic journeys into Wonderland and Neverland.
Yeah, you told me at the start we're getting a fantasy drama.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, good. I could do with some more fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give me this shite.
I feel like it's going to be leaning more towards the drama, where it's like they escape to these fantasies because of the family drama and the depression.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Have
we not got enough Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan over the last 5 years?
I'm not really interested in more of those, admittedly. If this ends up in a really dark drama, though, where it's just like they become those characters because that's the only way they can cope with the life.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good. I'm just... excitement is neutered.
Yes. Less fantasy, the better, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, I want more fantasy. I just want more original fantasy.
Mm-hmm. That takes us like trailers, though. Right, trailers.
Cool.
Yeah. We only have 3 trailers this week. That's weird, but...
It's a small week, isn't it?
There was a lot of trailers this week that were trailer number 2s. So, trailers... We'd already looked at trailers for the movies before, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that again.
Just a bit more of the same.
Yeah. So it ended up just being 3 trailers. So first up, we had a trailer for Peppermint. So this is a film with Jennifer Garner, who is a mother whose daughter and husband are gunned down in a drive-by shooting by a gang. And the system, which is corrupt, and people are in the gang's pockets and whatnot, basically let them off with it. And she goes away for 5 years to train and comes back as a badass and goes to hunt them all down as a vigilante. That's the movie.
I think it could be a fun movie. I think it's a pretty poor trailer. It spends way too long on that first part of the story. In the trailer, it's so long of oh, we're in court. Oh, there's no justice. It goes on for a long time, and then it's like, oh, now there's some violence. Now there's some action.
Yeah, I feel like because at one point in the first chunk of it, it said from the director of Taken, and it was still in the really sad, like she's lost her daughter and husband, and like everyone's upset and it's the corruption. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a movie of the guy from Taken. And then it got to the action where she's a vigilante, like coming back for revenge. I'm like, oh, okay. Now we're into Taken territory.
I think this could be a fun movie. I don't think it's a great trailer though.
I don't expect a good movie. I expect a possible fun B movie.
Yeah, but that's how I feel about Taken. I think Taken is
I agree.
Fantastically fun.
But what I'm saying is the opening of this trailer takes itself so seriously that it comes across that, we're trying to be a serious drama about a mother getting over the death of her daughter.
Yeah, it's never going to be that.
Yeah,
I want some cool gun action, basically. If it can deliver on that, I'm down.
Okay. Next up, we had the trailer for Pincushion, which is it's a British coming of age movie about a ginger.
It's so British as well.
It's got a really offbeat sense of humour. It's a ginger girl who I didn't mean to say ginger again. I just sort of did it naturally. But no, it's about this high school girl who was an orphan, and her mother, or her new mother, her adopted mother, who took her in, has got a hunchback, and that's like a big thing that everyone makes fun of her about. Yeah. And it's got this really weird, quirky sense. It's kind of this thing where the mother's really kind of weird and sheltered, and she makes her sheltered. So when she goes
it makes it sound like she's never been at school before.
Yeah, so when she goes to school and she's asked like questions, the girl's kind of immaturely like, "Oh, have you ever sucked dick before?" And she's like, "Probably."
Yeah. So
you've got the weird sense of humor. It's kind of offbeat and quirky. It comes up kind of like you're saying, "Oh, the original, coming of age comedy is full of these things." How did you feel? Did you like the look of it?
I'm not sure it's for me.
Yeah.
I think it's got a very stylized trailer. I think it's a strong trailer for the audience that it's aiming at.
I'll give it points for having a tone that felt different. It felt a little bit unique. It felt like it was doing its own thing, and it didn't just feel like every other coming of age story, even though it plays into a lot of the same tropes and beats that.
But it has its own style and tone.
Yeah,
right?
I kind of agree that I don't know if it's for me necessarily, but it did have some style. It's definitely a better trailer than Peppermint was.
I think I'll probably personally enjoy Peppermint more as a movie. That's the one I'd rather watch. But as a trailer, this is stronger, and for the audience who this is really aiming at, who will like this movie, I think it's a very good trailer for them.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Pincushion, and then the final trailer we had this week is 7 Splinters in Time, which is one of the sort of things where when I noticed how cheap this was, I normally just sort of close it and go, "That's just some weird, next to nothing budget thing that we wouldn't normally talk about." But there's some actors in here that I recognise, so I was like, okay. So I kept watching it. And I was like, okay, this is actually a really interesting premise. You've got this guy, and he's a time traveler. He doesn't know he's a time traveler yet. Presumably, the one we're talking to is the youngest one, or the.
Yeah, at first it comes up with just there's these people who look like him. I'm going, okay, what's going on here? Is it clones? What are we playing with?
And it turns out time is splintered, so there's 7 copies of him, kind of from different timelines,
parallel universes, essentially.
But one of them is a hitman. One of them is a serial killer.
Yeah.
So now the main one we're following is trying to figure. And do you know the shame thing about this is I actually think this is a really cool plot. I actually think this is a really cool idea for a movie. That he's having to hunt himself, essentially. But it looks cheap as shit.
It does. There are some nice ideas where it's like flicking between the universes. Like there's the very clearly Mad Max one.
But there's a very kind of cheap green screen look to everything.
There is, but maybe if the writing's good enough, it can overcome that.
Maybe it can, but I have to admit...
everything in terms of the writing in this trailer is very good. Yeah,
so it seems good at least. Yeah, it seems fine.
Yeah.
But it looks so cheap. So, I mean, hopefully it ends up being better than it looks in that sense, but... I mean, this is actually a really fun idea, and I like some of the set design here or there. At one point, it's like a library, and it's got this really funny shaped monitor. It's got this kind of retro future vibe, at least in one of the timelines.
This is the sort of thing that should be made as a short and then sold to be made as a full movie.
Yeah, it has that kind of vibe. Yeah,
but I'll tell what you can get.
But yeah, it's called 7 Splinters in Time. Even the title's cool. I just wish it didn't look so cheap. But hey. So I think we agree that Pincushion is the best trailer of the 3.
It is, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's the trailer section this week. Short and sweet, but as short and sweet as you can get.
That is probably the shortest we'll ever do.
Yeah. So that is trailer. So back out to general news then. So Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight boxing champion, is the subject of a new movie. We're getting a movie kind of based on him, not necessarily the story of him, but based on him, called The Big Blow. What's interesting about this is coming from a bunch of people. Ridley Scott's producing it through Scott Free in this case. It's going to be directed by Monsters and Men director Ronaldo Marcus Green, and then Oren Moverman is writing the script, based on the Joe Lansdale novel, inspired by Jackson's own story. So there's a lot of names there, but the point is, so there's a lot of people involved in this. Interestingly, this same week, Sylvester Stallone's new company, Balboa Productions, announced they're going to do a biopic of Jack Johnson, who was recently pardoned. And Stallone was kind of instrumental in getting having that happen. Interestingly, there was attempts before to pardon him. What it took this time though seemed to be Stallone literally just like annoying Trump into doing it.
What was he pardoned for? What did he allegedly do? I'm not familiar.
Well, I looked this up because I mean it mentioned here that he violated the Mann Act in 1910, and I didn't necessarily know off the top of my head what that was. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I looked it up. I just had a glance at Wiki. Just so what actually was this, and what are they claiming he did? This was an act that was kind of, at least on the face of it, was about trafficking people, specifically women, for either prostitution or slavery or whatever, like just for nefarious purposes. And seemingly, what he was accused of is he was dating someone who had been a prostitute, and they arrested him, and they used this act. You took her over state lines, therefore you broke this law.
Right.
And given that people have been trying to get him to be pardoned, I'm assuming that this was all bullshit and this was all corruption.
Usually what's happened with these in the pardons is he did do that, so he was guilty, but the law was bollocks. Yeah. He didn't deserve to have that on his record.
And even then, it sounds like a stretch. Like, it sounds like, oh, she was a prostitute and you travelled over state lines.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like they were, so Jack Johnson. So there's going to be a biopic that Stallone's producing, and there's presumably going to be this movie called The Big Blow. The Big Blow is set against the backdrop of a giant hurricane that flattened Galveston, Texas, in 1900. Local black champion Little Arthur, who's kind of the stand-in character, must go head-to-head not only against prejudiced social and relational divides, but also with a ringer from Chicago, Jim McBride, a dirty fighting racist hired by the local sporting club to do one thing: kill Little Arthur and restore the championship to a white fighter. As with the real Jack Johnson, Little Arthur further defies social constructs by being in a forbidden relationship with a white woman. So it's sort of taking his story and maybe fictionalizing it a bit more. And then you've got the biopic happening as well.
It probably interests me more in the biopic because it's probably not going to be quite as dry.
Yeah, it's probably going to take the sort of the lessons and the sort of the drama of what really happened, and then sort of wrap it up in a bit more of a movie.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I'm not sure because it sounds like half of it's a sports movie, but half of it is just something else entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be a sports movie where the other person's literally trying to kill him. Like,
it's half a assassination, half a sports movie. I don't know what that looks like.
I mean, that could be to its benefit. It could feel really unique because of that.
Alternatively, it could feel like a bit of a mess.
It could do. Sally's an interesting character, though. This Jack Johnson. People really want to make movies about him.
I'm not familiar with him, but I'm not familiar with pretty much anyone in boxing. So
no, I mean, Mike Tyson. I can name you him.
Yeah.
That's about
it. David Hayward, I think that's one.
Unless Rocky Balboa counts. I
don't think he does.
No. But no. So, Jack Johnson movie, The Big Blow. This sounds interesting. It sounds like there's some. It sounds like he led an interesting life, one that was well worth making a movie about.
Yeah.
Moving on. So, Terry Crews from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Ludacris from the Fast and Furious franchise have both been cast in a film called John Henry, a dramatic thriller from first-time director Will Forbes. It is described as a modern telling of the folklore. The plot follows John Henry, played by Crews, a man who has traded violence for a personal life in South Los Angeles. But when he meets two immigrant kids running from the leader of his former gang, played by Ludacris, Henry must decide whether to revisit his troubled past in order to give them a future. So, It's kind of the I won't quite say a history of violence, but it's the coming out of retirement to save the two innocent kids.
Yeah.
Because he can, but at the risk of losing his new life.
Yeah. No, that's true. And that side of it sounds interesting to me, but it's wrapped up in probably a gang movie as well, right?
It depends. It depends how they play. I can see it just being like sort of the start of the action, sort of like protecting the kids, and you know, I can see it being more of an action movie than a gang movie, if that makes sense. Even though that's the setting.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to wait and see a trailer on this one to decide how I feel.
I'm not used to Terry Crews. Yeah, I think I agree. Tone's maybe a big factor in this. This is the first time I've seen Terry Crews in a more serious role like this. I feel like he's usually a more comical character, right?
Yeah.
You know, even in the Expendables, he's still like a light-hearted character in that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like a more of a serious role, so I'm interested to see how he fares doing something like this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have confidence that he's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't seen him do a dramatic role, so I don't know.
Well, many people say comedy's harder than drama, so.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people realize, you know, because when you do comedy, you do a lot of improvisation, and bringing that over to drama can really help you out.
Yeah. So that's what was the name? John Henry. The name sucks. I don't like the name.
yeah. You say this all the time. You hate it when a name's just a name.
Yeah, just a person's name. Yeah, unless it's like a really weird name.
Yeah.
Like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. All right.
Nailed it. So next up we have a movie called The Feral Detective, based on a book. So Kroll & Co. Entertainment, the production company of Sue Kroll, has acquired the rights to the book from Jonathan Lethem, who his other book, Motherless Brooklyn, has already been made into a movie. That's the one that Edward Norton's directing. We talked about that a couple of times recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one's not even out yet. This is coming out sometime next year, I think. But The Feral Detective follows Phoebe Siegler, a sarcastic and garrulous woman who heads to California to try and find her best friend's missing teenage daughter. When a lead brings her to the stark and seedy desert towns just east of Los Angeles, Phoebe is put in contact with a Charles Heist, a laconic, strange private eye with an uncanny ability to find those that don't want to be found, who reluctantly agrees to help. She dubs him the Feral Detective. As the unlikely pair traverse the stunning desert and its enclaves to get closer to the missing girl, their lives are placed in increasing jeopardy. So there you go, Feral Detective.
Well,
so this Lethem is obviously known for his crime and detective stuff, because Motherless Brooklyn, I think, is also a detective story.
Yeah, I think this is all going to come down to style, because it sounds kind of generic, right? It's a detective story, which could be great.
Yeah, I think its direction style is the big thing
some
there. Some
strong direction out in the desert could really help with this.
Interesting. I actually had to look up what garrulous meant. I never heard that word before. I was curious. I looked it up. It's basically someone who has to keep talking. They always never shut up.
Fair enough.
I feel like a lot of sitcom characters are garrulous.
Yeah, definitely.
But I thought that was interesting. Learn something new every day. Next up, Dylan Sprouse, the brother of Cole Sprouse, who is Jughead on Riverdale.
Yes.
And he looks so much like his brother that when I saw the photo, I thought it was him. I was like, oh no, it's Dylan, it's not Cole. It was, I mean, he had long blonde hair, so that was a giveaway, but I mean, still, he looked like him.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens with brothers.
Yeah, so he's going to top line a Chinese film called Turandot, which will be directed by Zilong Zhang. He will star along with Chinese actress Guan Xiaotong. So it's described as a fantasy romance. The plot follows Princess Turandot, who is cursed by a mysterious power emanating from the Mazovian bracelets that were given her as birthday gifts. These bracelets are life-draining effects, and cause the princess to become cruel, and gradually she loses her humanity. Foreign princes who come to court her must solve 3 riddles, one for each bracelet. This is getting really like old school fairy tale. Yeah. And only then will she be freed from the power of the bracelets. In the event that any of the questions are answered incorrectly, the attempted solver would be put to death. One day, Caliph, played by Sprouse, an ordinary citizen, risks his life to answer the riddles and save her from inadvertently uncovering his own extraordinary past. This feels like a Disney movie to me. I don't know about you.
It does. I'm kind of down.
Yeah, so...
I'm a sucker for big fairy tale things like that, like with big fantasy things. And, I said earlier I want more fantasy.
I'm not particularly into fantasy, but I mean, it's a weird enough premise for like a, you know, you've got this American actor getting into a Chinese movie, and it's a Chinese princess who's cursed by these. Like, it's really complex for what it is.
Yeah, I will see that. You know, I can see there being a lot of white savior criticisms coming up about it.
Yeah, maybe
because he's going in and saving the princess, right?
I think I would debate that in this case, it's not a white savior gimmick because he's just saving the one person. This is more the white knight, in the sense that it's the prince coming to save the princess who needs to be saved. So it's more sexist than it is racist, is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with that, but I feel like once we get a trailer and you see it, I think that will be the reaction online.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that being the reaction.
Yeah.
And depending on what, I mean, the movie's focus might actually be more broad than I think it is, and maybe it will be more of a white savior trope.
Yeah. I know, it's hard to tell from this.
Yeah, based on what I've just read there, though, it sounds more like the classic, the little lady needs saved by the heroic man. It sounds more like that to me than it does the white savior thing.
It does, yeah.
But hey, so on to the horror section then. The horror section this week. So, first up in the horror section, Slender Man is in some trouble right about now.
Oh, what a shame.
That's coming out. It was supposed to come out in August, and it might still come out in August, but the distribution rights for the upcoming film are actually in a bit of a kerfuffle because Sony Pictures are ready to be distributing it, right? They didn't make it, but they're distributing it, and they've already released a trailer. They're going to put it out in August. But the company behind it, where's the name of this company here? It's buried in here. Doesn't actually say, it just says the film's producers. Anyway, the film's producers basically are seeing it as a big deal. They're saying, oh, we can market this, we can get more ad time for this, we want to produce this and put it out there as a big deal. Whereas Sony are looking at this, oh, it's a low-budget Blumhouse style release, which will do well, but not necessarily, you know, rock the world.
Yeah. They're not looking at it as like the next It.
No, they're looking at it as a solid little earner that might make 100 million overall. You know?
Yeah.
It's a perfectly reasonable expectation for a horror movie. But the producers are not happy with that. They want more ad time. They want a big marketing push, and they want to do all this. They want more screens. They want more theaters to be showing it. So they're making a lot of demands.
They might get away with it on the basis that Slender Man kind of got into pop culture.
That's probably why they feel this way. However, they had a clause in their contract that says that they're allowed to solicit higher offers from other companies. So they've not necessarily broke away from Sony, but they're allowed to go look for more people if they're as long as they offer more money than Sony are. They're allowed to jump ship. That's in their contract. So they've shown the film to several places, including Netflix and Amazon. But apparently the companies have all seen, they're all skeptical about the commercial potential. So basically they're all agreeing with Sony and saying, I mean...
No, I get it. I think that's a much safer option. I think there's a chance they might be right because as much as I don't give a shit about Slender Man, it did, you know, even people who don't follow any sort of horror kind of know what Slender Man is, or at least have an idea of
They've heard of it. It's a name. They've heard of it. I'm inclined to agree with Sony and the other companies, just based on the idea that if Sony, Netflix, Amazon, and whoever else they've shown it to is all came back with the same opinion, then I kind of trust it. I trust that they'll say, no, this movie, it may be an okay movie, maybe a good movie, maybe a bad movie, but they see it as, no, this is a film that'll go out, it'll make maybe 20 million its opening weekend, it'll scrape to 100 million worldwide, and that's okay for the budget that was spent on it.
For a horror movie, they'll probably be pretty happy with that.
Yeah,
that's not. They're not. This is no way a show of a lack of faith in the movie. This isn't them saying they don't have confidence that it's a good movie. This is them going, no, it's a small movie.
Yeah, but the producers are shooting for the stars, and and it is weird. They've put out posters, they've put out trailers already. That's got a release date. It's just kind of weird that this is happening so close, but
yeah,
here we are. Next up, Fangoria, who the horror magazine, the classic horror magazine.
Yeah.
They're getting into the producing game now. So Grady Hendrix wrote a script called Satanic Panic, which I like that name a lot.
That's a good title.
It's a good name, Satanic Panic. So yeah, so Fangoria has picked up this spec script. Hendrix is a best-selling author who's been at Book Expo this past week promoting his Bram Stoker award-winning Paperbacks from Hell with We Sold Our Souls. It's a dark Faustian tale set in the heavy metal world, and the book's been published in September. So he's an author, basically. That was maybe more than we needed for his background, but he does horror books and stuff. This is a dark horror comedy. Hendrix has hatched a Satanic Panic story with Ed Gohagen. It's an after-hours-esque dark comedy in a supernatural setting. A pizza delivery girl, at the end of her financial rope, has to fight for her life and her tips when her last order of the night turns out to be a high society of Satanists in need of a virgin sacrifice.
I'm down.
This sounds like a fun 80s horror comedy to me. I can see this being set in the... I mean, I don't think it necessarily will be, but I can totally picture the 80s comedy in my head of this.
Yeah. No, I think this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm into this. Satanic Panic's also a good name.
It is, that helps.
I mean, I don't know any of the names involved, but all of the details of the plot, the name, everything about it is kind of firing for me. I'm into it.
Yeah, me too.
So that's Satanic Panic. And that is the final news story of the week.
You sure? You're hesitating there.
No, it's. I'm just scrolling back through and I'm looking at things. But yeah, so that is the final news story of the week. So, the one final thing we normally do is if we've watched any movies this week, we will talk about them. Only if they're movies that weren't for review, because obviously we'll do reviews on those. But Connor, you did say that you've seen a few this week, so by all means, fire
mainly in the last 2 or 3 days, we've just not been sleeping, so I've been throwing movies on. First, I watched Tomb Raider finally.
Okay.
With I thought it was pretty fun. I had a blast. I'd like more. It's not perfect.
Yeah, but... no, I think there were some things that really bugged me about it.
Yeah.
But when it did what I wanted it to do, it was enjoyable. And...
No, I agree. There was some things, obviously, because it was very heavily based on that game from 2013.
Yeah.
And there are some things that changed that I'm like, why? But there are other things that they changed that I'm like, no, this makes sense for this film version.
I mean, I liked the opening before it got to the game stuff quite a bit, actually. I thought that was some of the strongest stuff.
I agree.
My biggest problem, outside of the one big plot point that changed that just made me roll my eyes, and you probably know what it is, was that I just didn't think she was on her own enough.
No, that's true.
I felt like she was always in a group. I felt like she was always surrounded by people.
But as a double-edged sword, I feel like the one person she really befriends is the drunk boat captain, and I feel like he's not really fleshed out enough. I don't really get enough of him. So as much as I want her on her own, I wanted more of him as well. Because he's just kind of there. But I don't think that those connect to each other. I think you can flesh him more out on his own, but still fix the complaint of she's always surrounded by people when she's at the island. She's never just on her own adventuring. No,
that's what I was missing the most, I think, out of that.
No, that's fair. But it's pretty good. I hope we get another one.
Didn't do super hot at the theaters.
No, it didn't. But you never know. You never know. What else did I watch? Next, I did Early Man, which I missed at the theaters. Surprised me in that it's actually a sports movie. It's a football movie or soccer. None of the trailers really showed that. All the trailers showed it as, Stone Age man meets Bronze Age, and this clash of culture. And then it starts off with that, and then it turns out they all play football, and it becomes a sports movie of training them up, and they got to take on the superior people, and fight for their land, but with football. It was pretty fun though. Yeah, it's all right. Okay. Again, not what I expected, so credit for that. I finally got to I Kill Giants, which I thought was really interesting that I watched that the week of My Neighbor Totoro, because a lot of really similar themes and ideas. I didn't know going in, obviously, and I watched and I'm like, wow, okay, this is very heavily inspired by that in terms of ideas.
I quite like My Neighbor. I like that too, but I quite like I Kill Giants is what I was trying to say. So I Kill Giants. If I see it once more time, I'm really hungry, guys. I'm really hungry. Yeah, I Kill Giants was pretty good. I liked that quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I had a blast. I'm really glad I finally got to that. What else? I got St. Elmo's Fire, which is a Brat Pack movie from the 80s. It's pretty good. Not my favorite Brat Pack. They're a bit older. I mean, it's the same year as the Breakfast Club. So not physically old, but they're playing a bit older. Usually Brat Pack, I think, late high school. This here, they're college graduates, like fresh out of college, and just after that. And it's pretty good. It's mostly what I expect from a Brat Pack movie. It's a little bloated because there's 7 or 8 main characters. So you have some of them have their arc conclusion 30, 40 minutes from the end of the movie, and it kind of just feels a bit weird because of it.
Never seen this one. In fact, if anything, I've only seen Breakfast Club out of the Brat Pack movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw. Was it 16 Candles or
16 Candles, Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, I never seen those.
Yeah, okay. Maybe one day. In
Mm,
influx at some point, I'm sure.
possibly.
No, I finally saw A Wrinkle in Time as well. Missed that at the movies, but kind of a mess. It's so rushed and just things just kind of happen. There are points where it establishes this rule. It's like we can't go to this place because of this reason, and then the very next scene, they just go there. Like it just happens. It's like, oh, you just did it because you thought about it that much. Like, it wasn't a very well established rule. It was like literally one scene apart, and that felt really weird. I know some people are really praising the visuals. It has a really gorgeous color palette, but the CG is pretty lacking in my opinion. There are a lot of points where it just feels off. It's a shame. Also, you got Mindy Kaling in there, who is fantastic when she can run her mouth, and you pretty much have her be mostly silent and only talk in the occasional quote. And I feel like you just wasted her.
Okay. I mean, I'd never heard of A Wrinkle in Time before the movie came out, so I had no stake in it. But yeah, it didn't really appeal to me. It's not.
No, the thing is, I hadn't heard of it, but it's my sort of thing, to stick on. Like a light movie like this, I'm a sucker for them. But yeah, this one didn't work for me. And the last one I got to is I checked out that latest Netflix movie, Cargo. This is the zombie one with Martin Freeman. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's not what I expect. It's not a horror by any means. It's a dramatic thriller, but that's post-apocalyptic. This is the one where the gimmick is once you're bitten, you have 48 hours until you turn. And as you see in the trailers, his wife is bitten, and then the whole movie is him going right. Okay, when I'm gone, after my 48 hours are up, what's going to happen to my daughter? He's got this 1-year-old baby. And that's the movie, is him trying to find somewhere to leave her, someone to look after her when he's gone. And so, it's kind of got that very much, there's a big Last of Us vibe going on. It's pretty good. It's really nicely shot. It is a bit overlong, though. And given that, it takes place over maybe 36 hours, the movie, it feels like a lot happens in that time. Like more than is feasible.
Okay. The 24 syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's worth a watch. Definitely one of the better Netflix movies this year, I'd say.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, no, that's me now.
That's fair. No, I had no time for excess movie watching this week. I have been binging Brooklyn Nine-Nine though.
Yeah, see that's time you could be watching movies.
I could be, but I'm on season 5 now, and I only started watching it early last week.
Yeah, so you'll be finished that in like 3 days, and then you can watch a movie.
I'd seen the first 3 seasons before, for the record. Like 4 and 5 were the only ones that were new, and I have to say, 4 and 5, like, they really upped their game in terms of like tackling political subjects, and like there's a lot of really good stuff.
I've not seen 5 yet, but 4 really did step it up. I really enjoyed 5.
Yeah, 5 does as well. Interesting tidbit is episode 99 is treated as a bigger deal than episode 100.
I like that.
Yeah. 100 is still important because that's when Gina comes back. Because Gina, I mean, the actress was on maternity leave.
Yeah, she's pregnant, yeah.
So she was pregnant towards the end of the season. Because, do you know what's funny, actually? I kind of was starting to notice it. I didn't know she was pregnant, but towards the end of season 4, I was like, she's looking a bit bigger there.
You can see them really hiding it with the blowy tops and stuff.
Yeah, and it was almost to the point where I was almost surprised they actually wrote it in that she was pregnant at the end of the season, because I was like, you've been hiding it for at least a few episodes at this point.
They have us sat down at the desk a lot and just leaning back so you can't see anything.
Yeah.
They were really covering it.
So yeah, she's on maternity leave for the first 10 episodes of the season, but
yeah.
She comes dashing back in at episode 100, but anyway, that's the movie news this week. In terms of what's coming up on the channel, we are finally back to recording regular influxes. The first half of our top 50 movies in the 1990s went up for everyone just this past couple of days. The part 2 of that's up for patrons, as is the My Neighbor Totoro review, if I could say that properly. Still hungry, guys. So that's it up. Next week for patrons, coming up early for them is the next Godzilla movie review, so you can look forward to that. Me and Tim on streams after midnight, we had the Strangers 2 review go up, as well as the... we had Strangers 1 go up, as well as the Stillborn review this week, and then next week coming up, you're getting the Strangers Pray at Night. That's the second Strangers movie, so... Streams is firing back in cylinders again. And Overload with Matt, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is coming up soon as well. We're recording that later this week. So look forward to that too.
Yeah, so, back into the regular movie content is back now.
Pretty much, yeah. It feels like we're almost pretty much back to normal.
We are scheduled in, every week from now. So barring any emergencies, then we should be good.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. And there is make-up episodes planned within Flux in July and August to make up for the weeks that were missed. So there's more movie reviews coming then too.
Yeah.
But that is us. So thank you for watching or listening. We appreciate it loads. If you want to support the channel and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. There's the new exclusive Patreon thing that's starting in June, which is 1.21 Extra, which is just a discussion show with me and Connor talking about a subject from the movie industry or the movies in general. The first one's going to be about aspect ratios and the differences between them, why they're used, a little bit of history on them. We're going to talk about that. That's coming up sometime this month in June, exclusive for patrons. But there's other stuff as well, such as the voting for the Influx and Overload episodes and Screams episodes, and so on and so forth. So have a look at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, link in the description. Otherwise, if you want to support us and help us out, comment, like, subscribe, all the usual things. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.